Hey guys, it's Cheryl from Tinker's Card Art, and I'm back to painting some beachy signs tonight. I don't know if you caught my live the other night. We painted some little rustic uh, picket fence signs, pretty rustic, pretty quick, just with a beach and an arrow. I might have told you too that I have a little group shop where I sell things up here at the beach. And sometimes it's nice to share what I'm painting to put there because um, where you're near the beach, everyone loves something personalized with their favorite beach or their favorite town. And so I'm painting these up. Drake's Island is the beach in Maine that I like. Thank you guys for popping in. Hello, good evening. As usual, I'm last minute and on a whim. Since I'm sitting down to paint these, I thought, geez, let me go on and share with you guys another simple beach painting. It's kind of dark here. I know my face is kind of in the shadows, but I think you can see what we're painting, and that's what's important. And I would love it if you popped in and said hello. I'm going to bring the comments up, so just ask some questions as we go. Hey, Jimmy, how are you? And Ursula, yeah, this is live, but it's always recorded, so you can always come back and watch it again and paint along, or just to get some, further instruction. So I'm going to paint. I'm going to remove that banner so you guys can see everything here. And I had a whole boatload of these signs I bought on clearance at Michael's once, and I've done nothing with them. So I thought, I know what will sell is something with the name of the beach. Drake's Island is a little beach here in Wells, Maine. I will also do some with Wells. I will do different beaches and sometimes just put beach on them. But these are great because they're already painted white. They came this way. They have a little twine hanger, so they don't really need much, and they'll be quick and easy. I was painting along, like I said, the writing and the arrow, and that's when I thought, well, when I get to the beach scene down here, maybe I'll go live and we can paint it all together. I will paint the writing again. This is pretty simple. I'm not the best letterer. You couldn't read my handwriting to save your life, my life. But I can do this wonky. This is a new little lettering style I've started doing. And can you see, like, I do a big D, a smaller A, different size letters all along on purpose. That way, no one's looking for them to be a perfect font. So all I do is different size letters. I use a little filbert brush, and it's a perfect size. I thin my paint down when I'm doing lettering. I adore this phthalo green and phthalo blue, and you've seen me paint with it a bunch of times. It's great for the ocean colors. I use this blue for my skies. I mix this for a great ocean color, lighten it up. You get a beautiful teal. It's really a very dark blue, like an ultramarine you could probably use. The phthalo green, those are really pure dark blue spruce green, which really works for a lot of things. And then mixed with a little bit of cad yellow, it makes a beautiful light green, which I do for a little bit. If we put a wave in and we're turning it over, I put that little light green underneath as it's turning. So pretty cool. So let me just put this one aside for a minute because we're going to paint the writing again. I'll paint the writing again so you can see me do it and how easy that arrow is to paint. I have given just a light sketch line. You can barely see it, just a little idea of where some of my lettering is going to go. I'm pretty good eyeballing as I paint that if it's getting too short or long, I can even it out to make it more centered on the sign, but you're very welcome to measure, find your center, and then count your letters out and really trace them on. If you're really uncomfortable with the lettering, you could, if you have a Cricut, you can make yourself a little stencil. You can even buy some welcome stencils if you wanted to, and if you didn't want to make it a beach sign. This would be very cool with just your own name on it with the, Hughes's or whatever you wanted. You could put a welcome to our home. There's so many things you could do with this. But I'm going to put on, because I know it will sell, I'm going to put on the beach name. And I'm going to get these comments back up so you guys can say hello. Hey, Becky. And Charlotte, yay. Hi, Charlotte. And let's get started. So like I said, I really thin down the paint when I'm doing detail work, lettering, that sort of thing. The reason being, I want that paint to flow off my brush with a nice smooth stroke, and I want to get as much of the stroke as I can before I have to stop and get more paint. So with lettering, I would like to get as much, a whole letter done if I can with what's on the brush. So I'm loading the brush pretty heavy, and it's thinned down. And I am going to just put my little sample over here anyway, just to kind of go by it if I need to. And like I said, I don't even have a system for how I make the lettering kind of wonky. I just make kind of a block letter, and you can see the paint is thinned enough so that it flows right along for me. Nice smooth line. If your paint is dragging and you don't get the whole letter done, probably means you need more water. So just keep thinning that down. And what I love about these two colors is I have some that's mixed. That's a nice dark blue green. Sometimes I go just more green. Sometimes I go more blue. It makes it a little more interesting for the lettering. And so I'm just going to go along. And like I said, I make some letters big. I'm going to go more into the green now, and I'll make a small A. It's on purpose just so that I'm not trying to create a perfect font, really. All right, I'm going a little bit close to that edge, but let's just finish it off. So I probably should take my own advice and have measured it. It's all right, though. Oh, you know what I just realized? On my other one I just showed you, did anybody realize I spelled island wrong? I forgot the L. So we will fix that. A way to fix some mistakes, and I have it right handy. Let me show it to you. Is I wipe it off as quick as I can with wet paper towel. That other sign is dried already, so I'm just going to take some rubbing alcohol, and that will take that acrylic paint off for me, so I can just correct where I was off in the writing. So here we are with Drake's Island. It's a little close to the edge. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to remove all that. What I can do is just put a little something other up here afterwards. These, like I said, are kind of rusticy signs, so I'm not really worried. Then I'm going to put beach right down here, so I have room to put an arrow in between. Drake's Island Beach. As I go, I'm adding little bits of water every now and then, just to keep that paint flowing smoothly for myself. Sometimes I go right in. It's a very blue letter. Sometimes it's teal. Sometimes it's green. I think that's just kind of a cool look. Let's see if I can spell beach right. I never proclaimed to be a good speller. Okay, so there we are. That's the writing. I'm going to paint the beach scene here, but we're going to get a little arrow, and I'm going to show you a trick. Hi from Ohio. Okay, so I take a wide brush that I want to use a brush about the size that I want that arrow to be. Again, with thin down paint, because I want to make that nice long stroke without having to start again. Then it's going to look a little crookedy. I've thinned down my black paint. I'm going to get as much on there as I can because I really want a nice long stroke. And you might, if you were painting this, want to let this dry so you don't put your hand down in it, but I'm going to just be aware that that's wet. Here's a little trick I learned back in school for painting or drawing straight lines, and it really, really, really works. It's crazy, but I'm going to put down my brush. I want to make a nice straight line right across here for the arrow. And if you're painting or you're drawing, look ahead where your pencil or brush is going, and you will look straight ahead and you will follow a nice straight line. If you keep your eye on your brush, you're probably going to wiggle. And it sounds crazy, but it really works. So I'm going to just take that brush. I've got a good bit of paint. If I have to go and touch up, I can, but let me just put it down. And now I am looking on my paintbrush ahead of where I want to go, and I'm going straight across like that. And you do get a pretty straight line. And what I'm going to do to get the little arrow point, I'm going to just do a little line here. I'm going to make a line straight up from the middle of that. And I'm going to connect that, and that's going to be a nice point for me. So it's, again, these are kind of rustic. If we wanted it perfect, we'd make a stencil, but I want it to be beachy, so I don't mind if it's a little off. But that's a little trick to make a pretty cool arrow. So there we are. So I've got the arrow, I've got the writing. I'll rinse that brush off now. And I've painted this little beach scene lots of times on lots of things. You've probably seen me paint it. It's pretty quick. I can do it fast. I'm not going to paint clouds and all, but I'm going to paint just a little bit of the beach here, a little sand, and maybe a few little beach roses on the side. And you'll see how quickly that can be done. So I'm going to start with the water. This is the perfect color. If you wanted, you could certainly sketch it on. I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to just get a flat brush again. And just going to go into both those colors. I love that dark blue-green. And I'm going to put it on where I want the water to be. I'll probably have the horizon line about here, say. I'm going to stroke back and forth because that's the direction of the wave, so that'll be kind of nice. And I'll go into my paint. I know it's dark on camera here, but I'm going into sometimes the green, sometimes the blue, just streaking it across. Where it's going to come and meet some sand here, I want it to be kind of light. I don't want a harsh line. So I might even start just smoothing that a little bit. I'm going to take some white, which I neglected to put on my palette. Let me get you some white. And while this is wet is a good time to do this. I'm just taking some white on the brush, going beneath the blue ocean color and just working my way up into it. So I see how I have a nice blend here that'll go into the sand. If I want to put some little waves in here, super simple, I'm just going to dip the corner of my brush in some white paint. Whoops, just the corner, pat it off. I can get some little white caps here if I want. I'm laying that paint on rather heavy. I can get some little white streaks back here, whatever I want to get a little bit of white in there. I might go to a clean brush now that's dragging some of that dark color in there, and I might just get some little white lines here. And what I was mentioning about that lime green, that nice green color, just to show you while I have it, I've got that phthalo green here and some cad yellow, and it makes a beautiful emerald green, and you can lighten it up and get a nice kind of a lime green. Let me see if I can get into the light. It's a little better. When the waves turn over, and this is very small and insignificant, you don't see it that much, but when the wave turns over, can you see how I put a little bit of that green there? Look at the waves. I was at the beach today. Actually, I took some pictures, and when that wave just breaks, it's the sunlight coming through that blue-green water, and it just appears to be lighter with some green. So I do put a little of that in there. It's not a big deal if you have just a little tiny board, but I just like the way that looks. When this is dry, you can certainly come in and give those white caps that when the wave's turning over a little bit more opaque white, but let's leave that now. For my sand, I love using the buttermilk. It's the Americana Deco Art. It's just a buttermilk color. It works great for sand. I want to do the bottom bit here where the sand is so that I can sort of blend it into the water already while it's a little wet. And this is just a little bit of beach here with a little bit of beach roses showing on the side. I'm not worried about bringing, it where it really would be. It's more decorative, but I am bringing that sand in here a little bit. And I'm going to go into a little white where it's meeting the sand is meeting the water. I like to bring it, that's a little dried, so I'm going to bring a little of that in. You can see, how when that water just creeps up on the sand and it's just a little bit of a blue tone there. And anytime you want, you could go in and add a little bit of the white, some little streaks, which you could certainly do with a detail brush if you wanted to. There's not much sand showing here, but when I do some shadows and things with the sand, I've got this yellow ochre out, and that makes some nice indentations. And if it's a bigger, expansive beach, you can make it look like people are walking, like little shading with indents in the sand. Hey, Gail. Hi, guys. Hi, Debbie. Thank you guys for popping in, and Mary. So that's just a quick, tiny little bit of ocean. I'm going to put some foliage here and do some quick little beach roses for you. And just to show you, if you sell your work at all, or if you do craft fairs or art fairs and you want some ideas for inexpensive things to paint on, this little scene, like I said, this is just on a little piece of wood. This little scene here is a quick scene. It would be nice even if you painted the sky and everything, you could still do some writing on it. People love to see things personalized with their favorite locations or their names. So that's always a good way to sell something. All right, so the beach roses. I'm just going to do some green foliage. I'm going to do some little bit of grasses coming up, and then on top put some of the roses. I love the beach water too, Gail. Those blue-greens mixed, if I wanted to get more tropical and Caribbean water, I could just certainly have added a little more white and a little more tiny bit of green, and you get that really pretty teal watercolor. So I just want to get foliage back here so that I can put the grasses coming out from it and then the little roses on top. And I start dark to light. I usually paint dark to light. So I'm taking that dark green I have and I'm adding a tiny bit of black. I just want to get a little bit of darks to put my lights on top of, because my light greens are not going to pop if I don't have something a little darker behind there. And for some reason, this whatever this board is painted with, it's drying really, really quick. It's actually like a pressed board, so it's probably that pressed wood that's absorbing the paint so quickly. So it's good because it's drying fast for me, so I can go right on and put some lighter greens there. I'm going to just add yellow to that green and get a nice light green. And I am just patting the color on. It's a little abstract. It's just going to be a little foliage down here. And once I put the grasses on it and the roses, it's going to be enough. It doesn't have to be real detailed. For the grasses, you could use a liner brush. I use my flats a lot of times. And when you're doing grasses and things like that, that's another case where the watered down paint works nicely for you, because the paint will go nice long line for you from, I start at the bottom, at the base, bring it up, and it gets a little lighter, and just like grasses would. So let me I'll pull out my liner brush to show you how you can use your liner brush, or you can use a flat. I know it looks wide, but you can get a real thin line on the chisel edge, but you also have your liner. Liners are great because they hold all that paint we were talking about. I'm going to get a light green. I'm going to use some gold maybe for these grasses, but I'll do some light green. I've really watered down the paint. I've got that whole brush loaded nicely. And let me just show you on the white paper here how I do that. I really will just kind of give a little pressure to the brush and just bring it up and bring it up and bring it off the paper. So if you do these lines and you say, I can't get a nice thin line like you do, it's because of the pressure more than anything else. If you kept the pressure down on here, you're going to just go and get a wide line. But when you get towards where you want to get that thinner end, just you start with a little pressure, and then you just pull it up and pull it right off. Just pull it right off the board or the wood, and that is going to give you the thin line because you're removing your brush and it's barely touching. So I'm going to go on and put some of those little grasses coming in. Can you see? I'm just going to kind of curve them in towards the water. It just makes for a nice composition, just having that your eyes being led into the, and I was spattering a little bit with my with that brush, I think. So let me just remove those little spots. I'm taking just a clean brush with clear water, and I'm picking up that wet paint that shouldn't be there. And again, if that had dried or it wouldn't budge, you just go ahead and use some alcohol. Rub, just this is like a 91% isopropyl alcohol, and it really is great for getting off that paint that doesn't want to budge. Okay, and we'll go back and get some more little grasses. So I'm going from dark to light. So I'm going to get a little lighter as I go. Maybe take a little white with that green. And because I want some to go right up over the dark bits. You can kind of see it's building up. It's hard to see a little bit on the lighter ones there on the camera. Let me get it really light so you can really see the difference. And I'm going to do some with the yellow ochre, and the yellow ochre mixed with a little white. You can start to see those now. So I'm really exaggerating those light so that you can see them on camera. And now we'll do some gold ones. And that's just that yellow ochre. You could try some just with the color as it is. Oops, that's a pretty thick one because my paint was a little dry still. So I do some with the gold, and then I'm going to just do what I did with the white and just lighten them up a little bit. How's everybody doing tonight? I've been going on a little later to paint, and it's been kind of nice because some of my friends out in the West Coast can see the lives. If you have a preference to time that's good for you, let me know, because I can mix up my times. I do this on a whim a lot of times. And some of you probably got that text saying I was going live. I do send out a text before I go live. So if you want to be notified when I'm going live, I could give you that number. Let's see here. Do I have it handy? And the banners, just so in case you want to. There, I'll put it down. It's annoying texting. I tick that little ticker, but that is the number that if you text me at that number, I will put you on my list, and then I will be able to notify you when I'm going on painting. Okay, so we've got our little grasses. I really want that to dry a little bit before I put those roses in. So I'm going to give that a minute to dry. I do have my hair dryer here if I need to. Hair dryer, heat gun, that's always handy to have when you are painting. And oh, Gail, I'm glad. Yeah, we had a tiny storm. We didn't have much. I did a live in my membership 2 nights ago. And when I'm in Maine here, I paint on my porch. That's why it's kind of dark. I only have a little bit of lighting. And just as I was going to go live, we got a big thunderstorm and the rain. And I'm like, I've got like a tin roof here, so it sounds like bullets hitting the walls. So I pivoted really fast and went inside. And I have just a tiny table, so we painted there, and it worked. But tonight the storm's already passed, so it's good. So, anyways, and there's that number. I'm going to take it down a little bit, but if you need it, you can always send me a message in the comments. And I'm going to stop that. I'm just waiting for this to dry, so I'll get my colors ready. Just going to be some quick little beach roses. You can see how quickly these are done. I start again, of course, dark to light. I got a dark maroon on there. Then I put a little bit of pink and white on there. Just some little squiggles, and it appears to be beach roses. So we're going to mix up a little bit of that maroon with red and black. I never can find any of the maroons I've ever bought. I can never get a deep enough maroon. That always seems to be a little, I know it sounds weird, like a little milky, like there's a little bit too opaque or something with white. I just get a really nice maroon with just a little black and red. It really works out well. Okay, get my comments back here, you guys. Someone has just said hi, and it's just Facebook user because of StreamYard. If you come on when I'm painting on StreamYard and asks for your permission, it's just so that I can see your name. So you could tell me your name in the comment. I wonder is it Linda? I'm not sure, but nice to see all you guys. And I don't know if you heard my announcement. If you follow me online, I've been working like crazy trying to do this little course. It didn't start out as a course. It started out as I was walking down to the beach. So if you see it, if you buy it, it is for sale, and you see it, no judgment on the beginning, because honestly, I was out on a walk and I just started recording. It was so beautiful out down by the beach. I started recording about, because in the back of my mind, I've been dying to do a segment or a class about how I get my inspiration for my paintings. I'm just painting little dark maroon blobs. Because I do all original paintings. I have a million ideas. I have lots of sketches and illustrations that I've done, and I have no end to the ideas. And people always ask me, like, how do you design your own paintings? And a lot of, I teach a lot, and people use my tracers, and that is great, and it's a great way to get started. But when you're ready for the next step and you want to start designing your own artwork, I go through it step by baby step of how I get my inspiration, how I see things, how I record them, how I gather it in sketchbooks, and how to find ideas online without copying, because you don't want to copy anyone else's work or photographs. Even you can't just take a photograph you find online and just paint it. So I have some great resources for you for copyright and royalty-free images and sources for them. So I go through all that. I give you all the photos I took for the whole course are yours to use as you wish. And then there's also at the end the whole full painting tutorial of the beach path scene that we have looked at in the beginning of the video. So I take you through just walking and seeing things, and how to crop photos when you're taking them to turn into paintings, how to look for unusual things when you're out there that you could use someday for painting, or how will something give you ideas and spark ideas for other things that are similar or not. But it's a great little, I'm really proud of it because it was a lot of work, and I finally just got it all edited and put together. So it includes all the step-by-steps of how I do this, and then all the photographs you're free to use, the resources, and then the whole painting tutorial. And I just put that up now. It's $24. If you're a Cardist membership, if you're one of my members, you don't pay for any of those bonuses. You get them free in the membership. But if anyone is interested at all, I've got another little banner here that will show you, that will tell you how to get So if you text that same number, that's inspiration, text the word inspiration to my number, you will get the information about the class. You're not joining it or anything, it's just the information if you are interested. I would love to see what you think and get some feedback on that. So please take a look anyway and let me know if that's something of interest. And now I'm going to go ahead and do these quick little roses. All I have done is painted these little maroon blobs. Like I said, they're just, you can hardly see them. They're very black and dark. But the reason I do that really dark, dull behind is because once you put lighter and lighter and lighter colors and brighter colors, they really have a way to pop because they've got that dark and light. And I talk about that a little bit in my course about how putting darks and lights and shadows and highlights really make your painting pop. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of, usually I would just go right on here with white and just some strokes, but I would like to do a little pink because I put this really lovely hot pink out on my palette. And my light's kind of blinking. So I've got my dark base, and now I'm not going to worry. I'm not painting petals and centers, and it's not a close-up of a beach rose. It's going to appear to be a beach rose. That's all. So can you see? I'm just kind of, I'll do it up closer so you can see. I've got the maroon bits there, and I'm just wiggling these lines. They're going to be like little petals. Some of them are picking up that maroon, which is good because it's going to give me a little bit brighter color than the background, but not super bright, that which will be the next color. We'll just mix this with a little white. But in order to make it look a little like a rose, I'm just making these little wiggly petals going around. I'm not sticking right on top of that maroon blob that we started with. I'm going out around the edge. And from a distance, it's going to read fine as roses, as beach roses. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to just do these, and I'm going to show you on the white paper, so you might a little bigger so you can see kind of what I'm doing. It's the quicker and less you think about it, the better. But say I have my little maroon blob, for lack of a better word. I'm just going and making little wiggly strokes around. I'm going out over the edge. It's just like that. It's just some little strokes that we're pretending are petals. And then this is practically done. We're just going to add a little white to our brush. It's got pink on it, a tiny bit of white just to lighten it up. And until I put the paint on the rose, I'm not going to really know if it's going to show up. If it doesn't, I just add more white. And this is all wet and wet, so don't worry about letting it dry. I want the color to mix. Can you see that sometimes it's bright white and sometimes it's pink? It's because the pink is still wet, and I'm encouraging that mixing of the colors. And we're just going to go and do those same strokes. Like I said, less you think about it, the better. Do not overthink it. They're just little squiggly lines. Oh, thank you for your compliment. I always hope I'm getting things across. I try to put the process out that is in my head and do it in tiny baby steps, because I have taken students who have never had a paintbrush in their hand, seriously, never had a paintbrush in their hand, and I just say, put a little line like that, put a little blob here, not watch me and follow me. I tried to talk you through it, and you can rewatch these recordings, and I love it because I want to see everybody who has any kind of an inkling to be able to be creative and artistic in paint. It's not like you have to be born with it. It's not like, oh, well, I wasn't born with the talent, or I can't draw a straight line. Well, first of all, we don't even draw or paint straight lines, as you can see, not perfectly straight. And if you enjoy the process of painting, it's just such a joyful time. If you don't stress and you just have fun with it, it's a great experience. And if it comes out great, that's wonderful. If it's not great, it doesn't really matter. Did you have a good experience when you're putting together? You have any kind of hobby or thing that you do? It's not always about the finished product. When you really enjoy running and you go for a run and you're done, it's not like you have anything there. So the process, think of sitting down and creating in the process and enjoying it. And I can tell when someone's painting when they enjoyed it and didn't struggle. We don't need to make things look like a photograph. That's not what makes an artist. I know people say, oh, it doesn't look like a real building, or when they do see a painting that looks realistic, they're so impressed. But we could have a photograph. I'd rather have you have a wonky, colorful, whimsical, fun painting than struggle for 3 days to do a house that looks exactly like a photograph. We don't need that. I just want to see people have fun with it. And when you do, you come out with some amazing things. And if you enjoy the process, I don't care if you've just started or if you've been painting for 25 years. If you don't enjoy the process, it's not working. But if you let yourself enjoy it and not worry about the outcome, then that to me is the best thing. I think that's what we all want, is some time we can spend enjoying and creating, and our mind is elsewhere. It's a great way to get away from struggles and problems and things, is just to kind of zone out and just create. So anyways, this is probably pretty done. If you really wanted to, you could put little yellow bits in the center, because beach roses have that. If you wanted to put a little blob, you could do that. Yellow's a tough one. Yellow's very transparent, so I always mix a little white with it, or I undercoat with white. I'm just blobbing on thick bits of yellow here. And if you wanted to get a little bit brighter where the little wave is turning over here, you could come in now, and I'm putting it on super heavy so it's almost textured. I do love painting with a palette knife or a lot of texture sometimes. And I'm just about out of white, but I really don't want to put more on my palette. So there you go. And you can make some little lines if you want. That's all you need. And I think if you were looking to sell some things, it doesn't have to be a big sign like this. I did it really because I had so many of them. Any little bit of wood, the fence. Did anyone see the fence pickets I painted? They were this, I have them actually. I don't know where they're not handy now, because I might have actually brought them over to the shop. But just old ratty fence pickets, and we just painted beach on there with an arrow and some little bit of waves, and that's about it. So, okay, so I'm going to take that down. So if anyone is interested in that course, which I go through telling you exactly how I get ideas for paintings, how I note them down, how I sketch them, how I take photographs, and put them all together, I would love it if you took a look. Just text inspiration to that number, or I put it out on all my socials today too. So if you follow me anywhere, you will see it. And I appreciate you guys always popping in when I, on a whim, come on here and just decide to paint. But I'm painting these anyway tonight, so I thought it would be fun to have some company. So thank you guys again. I appreciate you watching, and I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. I'll see you next time around.